Hey, what's up? It's Blake,
And Jackson.
and it is June 19th, 2022. It is Father's Day.
Yay!
So, which I think is interesting because our very first recording of this was on Mother's Day. So maybe this will be our last.
We've come full circle. No,
Yeah, all right. I think we've done what we need to do. It's time to throw throw it in.
we've changed the world. It's over, folks. We're done.
Yeah.
Go home.
Did you do anything interesting for Father's Day? Well, both of us worked today, so
Yeah.
I guess you didn't really get the chance to.
Yeah, no, by the time I got home, the party was over. So,
Yeah, my grandparents came over and had a crawfish etouffee with my mom, and I had some whenever I got back home, and I was like, oh my god, it's delicious. I'm bringing some for work tomorrow too to have as my lunch
oh,
because
you're bringing me some for lunch tomorrow. How kind of you.
you can try some if you want. I mean, I'm not stingy.
Sarah brought me some gumbo one time, so that was real nice.
Oh hell yeah! Oh, that reminds you, I need to put some more spice in it. Like, don't get me wrong, crawfish is great and all, but when it comes to Cajun dishes, I like a bit more of a kick to it. This one is a bit more of a bland. I mean, it's not bland. That makes it sound bad, but you know what I
It's
mean.
not
Like it
spicy
could use a
enough. It could use a little bit more
it's
spice.
it could use a bit more flavor, a
Sure,
bit more flavor. Yeah.
sure, I get that. Yeah, fair enough.
You could in Cajun food, you can always use more spice.
It's what the Cajuns eat.
Some of the places in like New Orleans though, like their level of spiciness is like, good God, this isn't even flavorful anymore. Like
Yeah.
I had voodoo, what was called voodoo sauce from this wings place before, and it was like I was literally in my car right before I was gonna go into therapy, and I was like crying, and I'm just like, my therapist is gonna think I'm like really messed up over something. I was gonna be like, no man, it was just the wings, I swear. Yeah,
Yeah, no, anything that sounds like voodoo sauce is probably a bad idea. I mean,
I was feeling
I
adventurous.
like a little bit of spice, not pain. I have
It,
like when
it,
Sarah and I went to Dallas and we tried the End of Sanity, which the Scoville units for that are 2.5 million. Which for
where
reference,
Jesus,
if you go to Buffalo Wild Wings, the hottest sauce is like 400,000 Scoville, something like that.
jeez.
2.5 million. It's bonkers. I was in pain during
Is
and
that like
after that.
is that sauce like from something? Is that like or like a specific restaurant?
No, it was a sauce. So we met a friend of mine who lives in Dallas, and he brought the
Hmm.
sauce with him. And then we tried
Oh,
the hottest sauce at the wing place, which was not as hot as the End of Sanity. It was
into
called
sanity.
napalm, which was also painful. So I was in much gastrointestinal distress later that night. Sarah tried the napalm,
Yeah,
but she did not try the End of Sanity because she is smarter than me. So anyway,
yeah. Anything with that much Scoville is likely I don't want anything to do with it. Like, cause if I know it's just gonna hurt and there's not even any real flavor to it, then like what? I don't have anything to prove, man. Like I'm not about to ruin my taste buds for the next like 5 hours just because of
oh, it was a week
trying to
at
prove some.
least.
Oh
I
my
couldn't
gosh.
taste anything spicy for at least a week, and even to this day, things that I previously considered spicy are not anymore. It's just I don't
You're a
taste it.
changed man.
I
You're a
which
changed man.
like like I said, I like a little bit of spice. This was like the equivalent of getting punched in the jaw, which was not fun. But he does it. The friend we met, he just eats crazy spicy stuff just because he can, which is I don't understand that.
Hmm.
Not here for it. Anyways,
Yeah. You done
uh,
anything interesting this past week?
oh, I did. I saw some experimental music this past week.
Okay, I'll be okay. Listen, so we both went to this thing. What wasn't last night? It was the night before last.
Yeah, time isn't real. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I liked it. I thought this. I thought he made it was the layering of it and like the way that he was using those pedals made it sound like he was making like really atmospheric horror movie, like something from like Hereditary or Midsommar. And
Mm.
I thought it was really cool. But I guess you
No,
and everyone else probably hate.
no. Look,
We weren't the only ones. The other people left whenever we got up
no.
too.
Look. Here's the thing. I thought it was fine right up to the moment he looped the high pitched note. Up to that moment, it was tolerable for me, and I was like, okay, all right, this is fine. And then when he looped the high pitched note, my ears were hurting.
I don't remember that part.
That
Well,
was that was the reason we left.
I do remember my ears hurting several times throughout it though, but I could stand it. Maybe then again, maybe we shouldn't have sat at the front.
Yeah, no, I don't know why you let Drew pick the front row. I don't get that.
Because he's adventurous, he's outgoing. I thought that I was like, sure, let's be a bit bold here. Let's sit at the very
I
front.
feel like
But
maybe
no,
that
I
was
should.
part of it. That was part of why it hurt. Like if we sat
We were,
in the back or maybe even mid row, like it wouldn't have been as bad.
yeah.
I don't know.
I let's see what else. I made a D&D character.
Nice.
So I played Dungeons and Dragons once before, and it was pretty fun. It was with a solid group of people. They had like a whole like board set up where they could draw out like map layouts, and like we had character pieces and stuff. So that was pretty cool. And I also did a Star Wars role play in high school. So that like another company that makes a very game fuck me, a game very similar to D&D. Called Edge of the Empire, which basically you're just a bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe, but they make other ones for if you want to be like a Jedi or something like that. But it was very fun. Stay up late doing those, so I'm excited for it. Then again, I don't know most of these people I'm going to be playing with, so I don't know if I'm going to love them or hate them because yeah. But whatever, I'll find out and see.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never done.
Hello.
Can you hear me, Blake?
I thought you dropped. Yeah, I thought you dropped for a second there.
Panic set in. No. I've never done D&D. I don't know. I just or any like role playing game. Really, maybe I just don't have the imagination for it. Who knows?
I mean, I like it. I mean, I know I told you this before,
Yeah.
but like, my I just like the idea of my character because I was literally just creating a character on the spot, and so what it ended up being is this species called a loxodon, which you told me that's what the genus for the African elephant.
Yeah, Loxodonta africana is the African elephant.
Yeah, so they're elephant people, so they're like human-sized animals with an elephant head, and they're supposed to be like monks. But my character is he's a genie, so I can be stored in like a pendant, and also he's also a warlock who is a failed merchant. So I put all of my skills in just doing stuff like tricking people and being able to swindle them. Like it's like all charisma and like wit, which I think is pretty funny, or I think it should make for interesting gameplay.
Absolutely, yeah. Should be fun.
Unless you had anything else you wanted to talk about, we could move into the news.
I don't think I watched any crazy movies or anything this week. So.
Oh, Jurassic World.
Oh crap! You're right. We did go see. We went with like a whole group to see Jurassic World. And,
a whole row.
And
pretty much a whole row.
Yeah, we basically bought out the entire row. Which was funny because there were still dudes sitting in one of our friends' seat, regardless.
Yeah.
But we got them to move. So anyway, personally, this is just my humblest of opinions. I liked it. Was it great? No. Was it good? I thought so. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was all right. Yeah.
It was a popcorn flick.
Not enough Jeff Goldblum though. Gotta say, not enough. Not enough Jeffy G.
The way, without spoiling, the way that they brought the different groups of characters all together for the final act, I thought was very well done. They weaved like 3 or 4 different storylines, kind of. Well, okay, 2 to 3. We'll say 2 to 3. They weave like 2 to 3 storylines together in a way that I thought was very well done, and it culminated in the third act, which I also thought was pretty well done. So overall, I liked it. I love Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum. I think they're all really great actors, and I mean Jurassic Park, the original, is one of my favorite movies of all time. So, you know, I enjoyed seeing all of them back on the screen. So anyway.
And all the little references and nods to the first movies.
Oh god,
too.
there were so many callbacks to the first. Like they were all.
Was it
over
like
the place.
that in the first 2 Jurassic World movies too? Because I don't remember there being that many references and stuff.
There weren't in the first Jurassic World. There were a few, like the dude, one of the guys in like the tower control or whatever was wearing a Jurassic Park shirt, and
Ah,
Claire said, "That's a little tasteless, don't you think?"
uh,
Which I thought was funny, but like, yeah, no, there weren't that many. Although, in fairness, Jurassic World one was sort of just a more modern retelling of Jurassic Park,
right.
just to sort of kick up the nostalgia again. And then the second Jurassic World was its own thing. They were sort of playing off of a storyline, a Jurassic Park storyline that never became a movie, but they incorporated a bunch of elements from it.
Oh, so it was like a scrapped idea,
Yes.
like that the writers did.
Yeah, basically, like Spielberg and his other writers wanted to like make a Jurassic Park 4, and that ultimately got scrapped, and so they incorporated a bunch of the ideas from that into Jurassic World 2, which is kind of neat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like that was the one where they had that like animal that it was like a hybrid of a bunch of different things, or had like cuttlefish DNA and like frog DNA and stuff spliced into it too, right?
Well, they did that in both. It was the Indominus Rex in Jurassic World
Yeah.
1 and then the Indoraptor in the second one, which
I'll be completely honest. The first two movies are kind of a blur to me because I literally only saw them in theaters and haven't rewatched them. So
uh,
I
again,
I, I, I may probably have the plot lines mixed up.
I mean, again, it was like were they good? Yeah. Were they great? No. They were fine. They were popcorn flicks. I was
Something fun to watch in a movie theater.
sure. I was reasonably satisfied with them. I'm not going to like defend them if people point out their flaws because they have many flaws. Let's be real, but like it was fun. It was just fun to watch, and we don't have to hate on every single movie, you know. But anyway, maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
They were fun.
Let's see. I'm trying to remember if I did anything else. Oh yeah. So Amazon Prime has this limited series that I hold near and dear to my heart. It's called Generation War, or in the original German, it's Generationskrieg. And it's basically just a story about a couple of young adults in World War II in Germany. There's a Jewish guy. There's a chick who becomes a nurse. A chick who becomes a famous singer, and then there's these two brothers. One of whom is as an officer who started out serving in the beginning of the war. So he served in like Poland and France and I think like Ukraine. And then the story takes place in like 1943, and his younger brother is joining the military. And so it is amazing. It's like a 4 episode series where each episode is like pretty much like about the length of a movie, so like about an hour. And it's very good. It's phenomenal. I've been waiting very patiently for them to put it back on again. I've seen it once or twice now, and I really thoroughly enjoy it. I want to get it on a DVD.
You said it's called what again?
Generation War. Do you have Amazon Prime?
I'm not gonna give my standard response to that while we're being recorded. I can't give the FBI anything to trace me with. But I will make a note of that movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's pretty good. There's another little mini series that I want to get a DVD on soon because every year I check for it, it gets more expensive and more obscure and harder to find. It's this little World War One stories miniseries that came out in like 2014
Uh huh.
called 14 Diaries of the First World War, and it's like 8 different people from 8 different countries, and it's just like an account based on their like diaries and stuff. And then plus it's like a there's like dramatic retellings of it, so there's like actors and actresses playing them, and it's showing them, which I just it's really cool. I really enjoy it. There's someone uploaded about an hour of one of the episodes on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like a 14 part series, so or like 8 part I think, but it's really cool. But the only place I can find it's this Australian dude selling it for like $60, and I'm just like, and it's like another 20 for shipping because it's from freaking all the way around the other side of the world. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, anyway, if
Absolutely.
that's about it, then we can go into the news.
Alrighty. Absolutely. Let's do.
Positively, indubitably.
Indubitably. All right. Let me get my reading voice on. My movie voice.
You're listening to NPR.
400 children died in a fire last night. But on the plus side, one of the textbooks survived. No.
This man has been making antique porcelain doll replicas from the 1950s for over 30 years.
What was it? Wasn't it like
It's always some stupid shit like
people were
that,
making like
but, you
fun
know.
of John Krasinski's podcast because it was doing the whole like, oh look, these kids like had to sell their kidneys to make enough money for their mom to get chemotherapy. Isn't that nice? Onward to the next story. It's like, wait, well, hold on, wait, what? No.
Just read a room, dude. His finger is not very much on the pulse
Well,
of why
it's the
that's a terrible thing.
well, I mean, in fairness, it's not just him. Like lots of news sites will report on stuff like that, where it's like some major societal failing, and they're like, "Oh, isn't that cute? Oh, these
Just
kids."
like completely tone deafly, just
Right.
running right over it.
It's like, oh my god, what?
Yeah.
Idaho officers getting death threats after arresting 31 Patriot Front white nationalists near Pride event.
So, did you hear anything about this?
Uh,
Or because if not, I can give you my little rundown of what I've read so far.
In other news, Blue Lives Matter until they don't.
Yeah.
I a little bit. I saw when the story first dropped, but tell me about it.
So basically, there was a gay pride event going on, and this white nationalist group called I was literally looking at it seconds ago. Whatever, this white
The
nationalist
Patriot
group was a
Front.
Patriot Front. Yeah, so they were organizing to show up at this event,
Mm-hmm.
and basically either heavily hinting at or specifically mentioning very violent things that they wanted to do towards these people, and so the police ended up arresting them there, and yeah, they're all under arrest. Like I saw their mugshots and everything. So they're yeah, it's I mean, is it hold on, and this was in like you said Idaho, right?
Yeah, Blake.
It was Idaho. Hello, can you hear
Yes,
me?
it was in Idaho.
Okay, yeah. So that's unsurprising because you see the weird thing about Idaho is that even though they're in the Pacific Northwest, which is traditionally a more like left-leaning liberal type of area, um, just to the next to them, Idaho is like a really hardcore, like right-wing safe haven for all those people that like wanted to move out of the cities and stuff and move further away from the coast. Like, people in Idaho want to retake a part of Northern California and Eastern Oregon and add it to their state because they politically align a lot more with them there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't really. There's not much else to that land. It's mostly just desert, so I really don't know why they want it so bad. But who knows? They keep proposing it year after year to want to take it back. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. What do you think about that? About that whole targeted thing? I mean, like, what does that say about like still the current state of gay people or LGBT people, and even in our Western world?
I First of all, I think that's scary that happened. Second, from what I have heard, they were the police were essentially tipped off by somebody else that these
Yeah,
guys, because they were in a U-Haul truck. In fact, you can see it in the right side of the picture. They were all hiding in a U-Haul truck that was gonna pull up to the event, and then they were all gonna jump out and presumably do something violent.
bust some heads.
Yeah, so um that's which is just wild. In all honesty, I'm glad they at least all ended up in jail this time.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, "Oh, that's enough. Off you go," or something.
Because it's one thing to just be like racist or homophobic or whatever, but like, okay, whatever, you're just an asshole. But if once they start like actually like organizing violence against them, then that's where it's like, okay, yeah, you do belong in jail. You do belong in prison. Like you were bad people. Like you were bad people before, but then the second you started to step over like the non-aggression line and start being violent towards people, that's when kind of go too far.
Yeah. We well, I've doxed us already. We live in the South, where in the southern United States,
Yep.
where homophobia runs rampant, as we will talk in detail about a little bit later in the show.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's this is happening. Idaho's way up north, and so it's kind of interesting that that happened so far north. Um,
Well, it's a little politically and culturally separated from what we consider the North, which is the North or the Eastern United States. So pretty much anything
is this considered?
east of like the Midwest.
Is Idaho's not considered like Midwest? Because you said they're
No,
relatively
Idaho is literally it's adjacent right next to Washington and Oregon. There's like three states in between them and what I'd consider the Midwest. But then again,
Yeah, I
some
guess
people
you're
have
right.
different
No,
definitions.
I guess you're right. I don't know about how does Utah is a conservative state. Nevada is liberal, right?
I think so. Yeah, they I think they legalized recreational weed there recently, or
What
that
about
might have been Arizona.
Montana and Wyoming? Do you know about them? Because I don't know about.
I think they're mostly red leaning,
Okay.
but some of the larger cities might be getting further left
Well, that's
leaning.
true of pretty much all the states. All the big cities
Yeah,
are blue,
true. I
but
mean, the show Yellowstone goes into a little bit of detail about that.
well, yeah. I mean, when you live, you know, when you encounter a bunch of people on a daily basis who are not the same as you kind of have to be more tolerant of people.
You'd be surprised.
No, I mean you.
Some people do not see the same
Well,
way on that.
well, I mean, sure, some people don't, but like that's kind of the thing about college, right? Like college isn't. There's the conservatives say like, oh, college is a big liberal place, which was not my experience. But typically, when people go to college, maybe they come from a small town, and you go to a place where you're encountering a very diverse group of people, and so to not be ostracized, you have to tolerate diversity at the very least, right? I mean, sure, you can
Mhm.
go there and be racist and whatever, but no one's gonna hang out with you. No one's gonna associate with you, whatever. So you
Yeah,
have
like
to,
those people in Free Speech Alley.
yeah, good lord. But you have to tolerate diversity, and so it seems like at the very least, like you're leaning liberal or whatever, even though you're actually not. And so, but you and by coming into contact with people who have a different background than you become cognizant of the fact that your experience isn't everyone's experience, and you maybe are what is it, empathetic or sympathetic? You're
Yeah,
sympathetic to them.
yeah.
It was empathize
I was wrong.
if it is yours, if it is something you've experienced, right? Anyway, the point, you know
I
what I
think
mean.
so.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
So you have to
yeah.
sympathize with their plight, their position, their background, whatever. And if you do that, that pushes you left. That doesn't you don't go farther right or further right, empathizing with more diverse groups of people. You just don't. Um, and so that's why I think in large part cities, which are population hubs, lean more liberal, and colleges tend to lean more liberal. So anyway,
Yeah,
just my thoughts. I could be wrong, but those are just my thoughts.
yeah, pretty well said. I think it's very telling of the still pretty backwards nature of our country compared to most other Western countries, where something like this could be orchestrated.
Yeah. No, I
But then
agree.
again, America's low key kind of falling apart right now, or it's leaning towards that way, or it's sort of on the horizon. I feel like
Well,
so.
heck,
Who
Charlottesville
knows
was
what's
just
in
a few
store?
years ago.
Yeah, and January 6th was just like a year and a half ago. So
Yeah. Yeah, it
yeah.
was.
Speaking of which, there's some stories about that I pulled.
Oh,
So
okay. I can move
yeah.
on to the next one. Um, oops. Let me slide this one up a little bit. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Is this it? Rioters got within 40 feet of Pence, and informant reveals Proud Boys were willing to kill vice president.
Yeah, so at first, whenever I first heard about this, a year and a half ago, I was like, why did they want to go after Pence? Well, apparently it's because one of the, see, I may sound dumb, but I honestly didn't know this. The vice president is the one who proceeds over the counting of electoral votes. in a inauguration year. So
Mm-hmm.
Pence was there, who was presiding over that, and so basically people were trying to pressure him into disavowing uh, the electoral results
Yeah.
and to try to sway. And Pence didn't want to do that because he's like,
Yeah.
nah, that's a bad look, man. And so they were wanting to behead him.
There was a
Yeah,
whole brain cell among Trump's entire team, and it was in Mike Pence's head.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
Mike,
absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna rally back to that good old 4chan post where people made a bunch of what are they called? One of those words I learned in like English 4 in like high school for whenever someone has a sort of like a title in between their names, like the like Mike electrocute the fruit Pence was one of them, or like
Yeah,
or like epithet. Is that what it
yeah,
epithet?
it's an
I might be
epithet.
wrong,
Yeah, I
but
believe it's an
yes,
epithet, right? And oh well, who cares? Anyway, I
I
know what
swear
you
to God
mean.
we're smart. I swear to God we're smart. I swear to God.
I make no promises at all, man. Yeah. No, I agree that yeah, Pence made the right move. Trump Trump did not explicitly call for like a riot to the Capitol, but at the same time, he kind of hinted towards it, at which gave
He
him
and Rudy Giuliani and I think Trump Jr. very heavily alluded towards that
yes,
with their words,
which gave
specifically with
them
the words "use force" and "we are going to go down there to the
yes.
Capitol." Those two phrases played a big part in and are going to play a big part in the upcoming hearings regarding the what happened there. So
Oh, have you? I haven't seen I haven't seen all of it, but I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene's um uh interview. That's not the word. Questioning, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
Her
and remind me,
her
who is she
statement.
again?
She is a representative of Georgia
Okay,
because of
okay,
course
that's
she
right.
is. Um,
Yeah.
she's like she's a young Earth creationist. She thinks COVID is a
uh,
conspiracy. She claims that there are like Jewish space lasers that cause fires in California.
Yep, and these are the people that we have in America's electoral branch.
Yep,
So,
wonderful stuff.
yeah.
But
At the
so
national level,
yes, she
this isn't
is.
some hokey pokey state level or city level shit. These are people that are in charge of laws that affect people in the entire country.
Yes, exactly right. And so she was also one of the proponents of various statements about like the election was rigged and all that sort of stuff. And so she had a deposition. Is that the right word for it?
Maybe.
She was brought before a council, and they're questioning her and the other people who were involved in one way or another with the January 6th riot. And they were asking her, "Do you think the election was rigged? Do you think Joe Biden committed treason and all this other stuff?" And her response to basically every question was like, "I don't know. I don't remember saying that. I don't know." Which is so funny because they're cowards. These people are cowards. They are all gnashing their teeth about the election and everything, and then you bring them before like a grand tribunal or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't remember saying that." They're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
cowards.
They lose a lot of that fire once they're in the hot seat.
Yeah, it's like, okay, tell us what you actually think. Did you really? And the funny thing is, one of the funniest scenes or moments in that was, they said, "Did you say Nancy Pelosi is a traitor to the country?" And she said, "I don't remember saying that." And then the councilman was like, "All right, can we go to Exhibit 9?" And right as he starts reading it, she's like, "Oh, I do remember saying that, but what I meant to say was, it was God, it was hilarious." But yeah, these people are just cowards. And
Yeah,
the only way they can take the country is by force. They can't do it by winning the hearts and minds of the people. We're past that.
exactly. They don't like that they're slowly becoming a minority.
Yeah, no, they will kick and scream the whole way, but they failed in essence. Um,
Yeah,
is there anything else you want to add
yeah.
on this one, or
No, there is another one though relating
okay?
to January 6th though.
Doctor known for spreading COVID misinformation is sentenced to prison for role in U.S. Capitol attack. Was that the one?
Yeah. So I wasn't able to reread this because I did read it a couple days ago and I thought it was very interesting, but I just think that's just plain funny. So
Yeah.
she I just hate that there are doctors out there that are like COVID conspiracy theorists, and like you'd think that someone is competent and intelligent enough to go through medical school would have the mental withal and like capacity to not fall victim to conspiracy theories like that. Like, but I guess he'd be wrong because like look at people in like the nursing field too. Like they've got to be pretty competent and intelligent, but there's malpractice and people abusing patients and shit all the time. Like it's the medical field is in a state of disarray in America, especially because our whole healthcare system is just bogus. But the people that put that system there and the people that actually do the medical practicing are sort of on a different level. So it's not necessarily their fault that things are so broken. But I guess it's just important to remember that these doctors are people and they can fall victim to uh, misinformation and delusions, among all else. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, well, well. If it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
Yeah.
On a more serious note, though, to your point about doctors, the thing is, so there are different like types of doctors, right, within the
True,
medical field,
true. That is very
and
true.
so many of them, most of them, I would imagine, are not epidemiologists. Now,
Right.
you would hope, being an MD and especially a PhD, would teach you something, as my friend PZ said earlier this week, would teach you something about scholarship, or last week, about the ability to do research to seek out that which is true. You would hope, but it's not always the case. And so, um, there was an osteologist, a bone doctor named Carrie Madej, who claimed that the COVID vaccine was turning people into cyborgs. Now, as cool as that would be, there is no evidence to substantiate that claim, right?
Yeah.
Same with the claim about, the COVID vaccine's making people sterile. Look, if it turned us into sterile cyborgs, I'd be at the front of the line. I'm all for
I
it.
honestly that's not even a bad idea at this point. I mean, I kind of maybe want kids, but if you were to tell me, be like, yeah, we're so sorry, we found out that you can't have kids, I'd be like, damn, that kind of sucks. But it wouldn't ruin my life, you know.
Right. I mean, they're so bad. Like the arguments for like COVID not being real and stuff are just stupidly bad. Like saying things like, "Oh, it doesn't fulfill all the cock postulates." Like, yeah, it does. We have the freaking genome of it. We know how it mutated from its like origin point in China, and then as it bounced around the world, and I say we, the researchers have kept track of the different strains and how it's changed and gene transfer and all that sort of stuff. A paper came out just this past week on beneficial mutations. Well, not beneficial for us, beneficial for the virus, in terms of pathogenicity. It's insane. It's insane. The amount of misinformation that's out there for a thing that the entire the virology community is like all over studying it and everything, and the different biomedical industries were jumping on making vaccines and boosters and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And at the same time that we are moving at relative light speed in terms of medical research, we have like scores of people who are putting out insane misinformation. How do we
Yeah.
live in such a world where this is possible?
And a lot of those people, I feel like they the whole root of them not trusting the vaccine has to do with a sort of knee jerk reaction of it's sort of rooted in the fact that people think it came out too quickly. And I keep trying to tell people, I'm like, dude, the whole fucking planet was working on this
Yes.
24 hours a day. Like, of course, when you have all of fucking humanity working together towards something, shit's gonna be a bit more sped up. I mean, how the hell do you think that we have flu vaccines every single year?
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is, I even heard conservatives make the argument after the COVID vaccine came out and people, including conservatives, were getting it, and which many conservatives have gotten it also, despite Trump and others saying all sorts of crazy stuff, is they turned around, at least in some circles, and started saying, "Hey, look, uh, Trump, cut some of the red tape, which made it easier to make vaccines and stuff." Like, okay, that intrinsically that's a good thing, right? The fact that we could make a vaccine faster, that's great and all. But like, you can't on the one hand be like, the vaccine or the COVID's not that bad or whatever, and then also like, hey, look, Trump did this thing. He helped, he helped get us the vaccine, which Trump himself is fine with the vaccine. Like is said, yeah, it's good.
You have your freedoms.
Yeah, and so it's
Remember that he was giving that speech to those people, and he was like, he basically said something like nudging people towards getting the vaccine, and
yeah.
everyone booed him. He was like, "But that's your choice. You have your freedom." Or no, he didn't say freedoms. He said freedoms with the P, which I thought was funny. You have your freedoms.
Well, which is still like, I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it. I really don't get. I mean, we live in a world where flat earthers are still a thing. So, here we
True.
are. I guess. Um,
Anyway, do you want to move on to the next thing, or do you have anything else to add?
oh no, I'm good on this one. The Flash star Ezra Miller, accused of inappropriate behavior with 12-year-old, allegedly told mother they would be lucky to have someone like me guide them.
Yeah, I hate when they use that excuse because females get off on this a lot with that whole excuse whenever they molest young boys. It's and guys don't really have that sort of defense when it comes to doing the same thing with a young girl. So I think that I mean not that there's anything. I mean they shouldn't be excused for their behavior, of course, but like people, these chicks that do these horrible things to little boys, they always think that they're like, what, he wanted it, like he's lucky, that shit, and that gets under my skin a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I believe I believe a warrant has been issued for Ezra Miller's arrest, but no one can find him.
Yeah, he
So
said he's like basically missing right now. He disappeared himself.
yeah, he ran really fast, and now no one can see him. Um, yeah, I don't really have anything other than that to say, except he's a terrible person. So
Yeah, just
there you go.
big
There you have
surprise.
it.
Big surprise. Kitty diddling and pedophilia in Hollywood. What else is new?
Yeah, oh god, as Ricky Gervais said, Jeffrey Epstein was your friend. He was your friend. There
Yeah.
are there are pictures of Epstein. In fairness, he took pictures with like everyone, like literally.
Yeah, that is
Everyone.
true. He did. He
So
did leave a pretty big paper trail.
yeah, I mean, you can't say like I don't believe they're all pedophiles. I mean, come on, there's no way to hide that many. Um, but like he was also a philanthropist and he supported a lot of different projects and stuff. So was he going to be taking pictures with everyone? Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
It's not all one big satanic pedophile conspiracy. That some of these people were just people taking pictures with him. It's whatever. Anyway, sorry. Man found dead in Death Valley National Park ran out of gas.
This is something that always scares me anytime I'm in the wilderness, which is why I try to make sure I always have a full tank of gas anytime I'm going too far away from civilization, because I I have literally been lost on the back roads of Arkansas National Park before at like 3 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
before, going off of an old outdated map. And let me tell you, I didn't know how long we were going to go before we could even just find a place to pull over and pitch a tent and to just figure out where we were in the morning. Because like, if you're stuck out there, if you're like far out there, you can be fucked. Like, especially in these large national parks and wildlife refuges where they're in the middle of a desert, where it's just like there's not even any shelter or anything. It is flat and it is hot, and you are very far from anything. So I feel for this man because I've been out in the Texas desert before backpacking for a week, and we got lost on our first day, and it was scary. I'm like, well, we might literally die. Like we had to start rationing our food and shit. It sucked.
That it kind of reminds me of the episode of Love, Death, and Robots, where the guys
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the door to door salesmen are like stuck out in the desert, and well, I guess I'm not going to ruin it for anyone. It's a really cool. It's actually I think my favorite episode. Um,
It is very nice, especially for like aquarium people. It's a
yeah,
fish people. It's a very nice episode.
it was really cool. Um, so highly recommend Love, Death, and Robots. Should check it out.
It's a very good show.
Um, Bill Clinton, fair chance U.S. could completely lose its democratic system. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I gotta see him now being like, all these people, they don't even know what's coming to them. It's the downfall, man.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. The accent or the impression was perfect. It was spot on. Depends on what your definition of is, man.
I mean, I can't take it anymore, man. Hillary, she won't shut up. She just wants to become president so bad.
He looks like a doomer right now. That face says it all.
Yeah, he's starting to get old. He's starting to age, man. He's getting a little disheveled.
I mean, not just that he's older, but like he just looks like the picture that could become
Haggard.
like a doomer meme right there.
Yeah.
um,
Hold on, let me look at it. I'll take another glance at old Billy Clinton.
old
Yeah,
William.
old William.
That's the look of like maybe the First Amendment should be repealed right there.
I'm having second thoughts about the Constitution.
Um, I mean, in fairness, we don't have a democratic. I mean, well, I guess it depends on like we don't have at all
It's a
levels a
democratic
democracy.
republic.
Yeah, it is a republic. It's a representative democracy where we hope that our representatives vote the way that the majority of the people in a state vote, but that doesn't happen because gerrymandering is a thing. And
It's a bit more nuanced, man.
yeah, that's true. It is, but you know,
Yeah, because we don't have like a true democracy, and honestly, like I mean, I feel like most countries don't, or maybe some countries have something that's a bit more close to that. But with a representative democracy, we like literally the people that we vote in power could literally just they can just betray us. Like they can just not do what they said they were going to do, like most politicians,
yeah,
and just
basically.
vote against something just because they even if it's aligns with their party's like views, then they can go against it just for publicity's
So
sake.
the fact that like one person from I don't know freaking Idaho has the same voting power as like 100 Californians, like
Yeah,
that's unacceptable.
I think the Senate is sort of broken in that sense because I don't think that someone like
No, I agree.
I don't give two shits about what someone from Rhode Island has to say about the state of our country. Like you live in like a New York's backyard, dude. Like your opinion means nothing to me.
Like the system was a good compromise at first. Um,
When we were a
because
lot smaller.
yes, yeah, when we were a lot smaller, it was a good compromise. You have one house which is based on population and one house where everybody gets an equal say. Like in theory, that's a good idea. In theory. The problem is that's not how it works out. You have to you basically have to vote. You have to get a lot more people voting, like for well, I guess I'll rephrase. Um, Lower population areas tend to be conservative. They tend to be Republican. Higher population density areas tend to be Democrat, liberal, for largely
Right.
for the reasons we already spoke about. The problem is there are a lot more places in the U.S. that are lower population areas than higher population areas. So people who vote, and so our system is not divided up by population. Our system is divided up essentially by land and how many people live in an area of land. And so if you have a state where the vast majority of your population is in a city, and that whole city is like one county,
Right.
meanwhile you have 10 counties which are all Republican, but have only a fraction of the number of people in them, well, you're outvoted. Doesn't matter that you have 100,000 people versus, 1,000. It doesn't matter. You're outvoted simply by land. And that is a
And
fundamentally
this
broken system.
and I may be totally wrong about this, but hear me out. I feel like a lot of those people that live in those lower pop, oh my god, population density areas live lives that are all pretty similar to each other. Whereas the people in cities with more job variety and whatnot and different levels of income are a lot more varied in their experiences in life. So I feel like there might be a bit of a tendency to be slightly more open minded
Mm-hmm.
compared to the people whose life is pretty much just going to be farming for 60 years. Like, yeah, I don't think those people should have the same amount of say in what goes on in the rest of the country when it's like I don't think they should be able to dictate laws that have will pretty much never affect them in their entire life.
Right, exactly. No, absolutely. Yeah.
And of course, you can have an opinion on laws like that, but when the the opinions affect so many more people outside of your scope of your world, like why would you care if it affects them or not? Because I mean, you're never like say you live like 100 miles away from the nearest civilization,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you've got your small circle of people that you interact with the day to day life, and those same people you're going to interact with for hell probably your entire life. Uh, Say for example, this is just hypothetical. You're all straight. Why would you give a shit about gay rights? Like, I mean, if it's something that if even if you're lackadaisical and don't care too much about it, but you still align with like all the rest of the Republican world views and stuff, like why would you? Like you have no real big drive to vote for someone who's pro LGBT, so they're not going to vote that way. I mean, that's a. I read a book about it talked about that's what the Tea Party did. That the Tea Party in Louisiana all vote Republican, and it usually comes down to
Yes.
guns and abortion. So, the abortion was a big one. So, a lot of these people voted for people that were morally and politically against their ideals, just because they were religious. It all boiled down to they were religious and they were Christian, and they just wanted to vote for Christian people. It's what shocker there.
Right. Well, and that's a problem.
And
That is a problem. And it's in some ways, unfortunately, it's understandable. Not for abortion and gun rights, in my opinion, but well, when you think about if
that
you,
was just for those Tea Party
well,
people.
sure,
But yeah, I see what you're
right,
saying.
that's just an example. But like, if voting in a Democrat in your local area is going to mean more regulations on your business, you're going to look at the conservative who are, traditionally, though not always, of course, but are generally associated with fewer regulations, right? They want to deregulate things. And so if you see that your two options are, which because unfortunately we have a two-party system in the U.S., which really sucks,
Yeah.
your options are either deregulation, which you're for, or more regulations, which you're against. Now, you may be like, I don't care if you do drugs, I don't care if you get abortions, or whatever. You're basically blue all the way down the board, but you don't want more regulations. That might outweigh your other priorities, and you vote for a young Earth creationist, anti-drug, anti-abortion conservative because you have your priorities, right? You have a priority of
Yeah.
maximizing profit over these. They're like, I don't care, I'm never gonna get an abortion, or I don't do drugs, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna vote for this person who is you're voting on this one issue, and that has all these other impacts, right? And that happens, and so it's like it's understandable, but you do also need to look like big picture. At least I would hope people look bigger picture and
Yeah.
realize you're restricting other people's rights. So or that
Yeah,
leaks are
that's one of
expected
the
to
big
spread.
failings. That's one of the big failings of the two-party system is that of the lot of political issues that, especially the ones that boil down to morality
Mm-hmm.
or people's senses of morality, you really cannot dichotomize it like that.
Right.
There's always a gray area. So I mean, even if there was like a this might be crazy, but hear me out. A third party or a
No,
fourth
dear
party,
God.
or like in Canada and Germany and a bunch of other countries, a 6 or 8 party system
Mm-hmm.
where people can actually vote for more nuanced opinions on things. I mean, it's frustrating, man. I hate having to choose between a blue tie or a red tie, and either way, it's just going to be some old guy that doesn't get shit done.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's like it's a centrist either way for the most part. You know, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, and in sort of the same vein, lawmakers ask Google to stop steering people seeking abortions to anti-abortion sites.
Yeah, so I looked into this, and there wasn't really too much to this, based on what I was trying to read about it. Like the article was a bunch of fluff, but basically, people seeking out abortions were getting autofill. Like where it recommends you like to how to complete your search, like what
Yeah,
you're looking for. So basically, there was autofill information or searches that were leading people towards not getting an abortion, or more anti-abortion ads towards people that had looked at sort of like stuff like abortion stuff in the
yeah.
recent time. So
It's like,
yeah,
how do I get an abortion? Did you mean how do I get an adoption? Or something?
yeah, exactly. Or like adoption agencies,
Yeah.
like targeted ads and data like data stealing and
Oh,
just
yeah, and that's also
manipulation by these companies is nothing new. But I hate that Google is a big part of that, because I like a lot some stuff that what Google does, but I don't like that they're also big evil scary tech company.
right. And this is probably something you've heard about, but the whole like the selling of the of internet companies, the selling of the data that they get to third party entities so that we can get like targeted ads and stuff. Well, the thing is, technically, the information being sold, the data being sold from Google to some third party site is anonymous, right?
Hmm.
But but the types the data that comes with it, like it's it's like, it just says like person who bought shoes of a certain size and drives a car of a certain type and buys suits of a certain type, and lives in a certain residential area. Like, yes, technically you're anonymous, but it's a
You can infer a
statistical
lot of information about you.
right. There's a statistical probability about your lifestyle based on these choices. So,
Yeah.
is that also would that also factor in to like abortion, to people seeking abortions, like because that would probably be in their search history, like on the internet, like what places are near me or what have you, and so that's also something that could potentially get sold to a third party site, and I worry ultimately about, and maybe you do too, about using that sort of data for nefarious purposes. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I don't really mind targeted ads. I just wish they were a bit better at it. Like,
Yeah.
I will literally talk out loud to my phone in hopes that the people spying on me or whatever is picking up on my voice will correct, because I am sick of seeing advertisements on YouTube in Spanish. I have never taken a Spanish class in my life. I do not speak Spanish. I have no interest in learning to speak Spanish unless it becomes useful for my occupation. So they Google fix that shit. If I have to hear it, Benvenido a tu Chrome one more fucking time.
Um. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I love getting recommended a YouTube video the day after somebody tells me about some idea. It'd be like,
I've
did you
had some
hear about
scary
this?
coincidences and stuff like that.
Yeah, coincidence, quote quote. It's like,
Or I will mention or say something and get recommended a YouTube video or something in my Google News, like literally minutes later. or like I'll be listening to people talk about something on a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I will see something related to that. Like it's not like a relevant news topic or anything. It's something completely obscure and mundane, and just totally out of left field. And some I'll see some other connection that'll happen to that on the internet, and it is wild. It is creepy, dude.
Yeah, somebody mentioned to me like the 1619 project when that first came out, or shortly thereafter.
What is that?
The 1619 project was a like a series of essays, if I remember correctly, about the institution of slavery in the U.S. The first slaves came over in 1619, or the
Oh
first
yeah,
people were
okay.
enslaved in 1619. I don't remember if they were African per se, but regardless, the institution of slavery in the U.S. started in 1619. So, um, so the 1619 project was a series of essays about the institution of slavery, and someone mentioned this to me. I'd never heard of it, but someone mentioned it, and I was just like, okay, that's cool. Well, the next day, I got a recommended video on the 1619 project. And I had never ever looked anything up relevant to it because I'd never heard of it, and it had just come out. So nothing in my YouTube feed is like Star Wars, comedy, science videos, and then like a few like political people that I follow, none of whom at the time had mentioned it. So, there's that. Anyway,
Yeah, mine is mostly like guns, history, um, comedians I follow, a couple of podcasts, and like the occasional uh like language video or a bunch of other stuff. Also, a lot of animation. I follow a couple of Let's Plays channels and
mm.
podcasts where people will animate bits from the podcast
Oh, I love
or
those.
the Let's
Yeah,
Play, and yeah, I follow this one called Oni Plays, and some of the animated bits from that are fucking hilarious, like god tier.
nice. I watched one. It was two guys, and one was like impersonating Master Yoda, and he was like telling jokes, and I like
Hmm.
peed myself laughing about it. I'll have to find and send it to you. I thought it was hilarious.